Hey guys, it's Laura with You Should Grow, and today we're going to be talking about hybrid veggies. Maybe you've heard that hybrid veggies are no good because they're not organic or they're genetically modified, they're not nutritious, or even that you can't save seed because they're sterile. Well, today we're going to be talking about all of those things and the real truth about what hybrids are, so stay tuned. So you guys, today I wanted to talk about hybrid veggies because here it's the beginning of the grow season and we're all making our grow lists trying to decide what to grow. And I think that there are some really good reasons that hybrids should make an appearance on your list this year. Now, the first thing we should talk about is what's a hybrid. Hybrid veggies are simply crosses between two varieties of the same species, okay? So you have a tomato, mommy tomato and a daddy tomato, and you cross those and you make a baby tomato. So that's no different than human beings having interracial babies, or dog breeders making labradoodles and chihuahuas, okay? Inbreeding can actually lead to problems. You can actually have more diseases. And so nature knows that mixing up the genes of one species actually makes that species stronger. Some hybrid vegetables are man-made, but that doesn't inherently make them bad, okay? So we're going to talk about some of the reasons for that, but I just want you to understand that hybridization is just the mixing up of genes within the same species, and it's totally natural, and it is actually beneficial for the species. So GMO stands for genetically modified organism. And that means that the scientists have figured out a way where they can actually take parts of genes from different species and they can insert those into the genetic makeup of a different species. So a hybridization is a very natural process. Genetic modification is totally unnatural. And there are a lot of reasons that we should all be concerned about GMOs, but none of them have anything to do with growing hybrid plants in your gardens. GMOs are not organic, okay? So those would never be considered or labeled organic. But you can still have hybrids that are organic. In fact, if you're getting like organic corn from the grocery store, like sweet corn, it's very likely that your sweet corn is a hybrid. And the reason is because a lot of the really good sweet corns that are so sweet, a lot of those are hybrids. So those are not, they can still be organic, but they're not heirloom. So now that we've said that, let's talk about what it means when we say, like when you're shopping for hybrid seed, a lot of times you'll see that it says F1 next to it. F1 is referring to the first generation, and they have to be sold as F1s, okay? And this is why. When you have a mommy tomato and a daddy tomato, and you combine the pollen and the girl parts, so the daddy parts and the girl parts, and you get 50% of mommy's genes and 50% of daddy's genes, and they come together kind of like this, right? So a gene, you have tons and tons of genes, and tomatoes have thousands of genes in them, and they all come together as half mommy and half daddy, okay? So every time you make that F1 generation, you know exactly what you're gonna get, okay? So the F1s will all be the same. Now, if you grow an F1 plant and you save the fruit from that plant to grow the seed from it the next year, what has happened then is, remember, there's all those different genes, okay? And half of them are mommy and half of them are daddy. But then in the second generation, you will have some of the genes will still be half mommy and daddy, and some of the genes will be just mommy or just daddy, and then some of them will kind of be like the opposite, like daddy mommy instead of mommy daddy, okay? So then you have a jumble up of all those things. You can't have the same plant grow, right? There's no way to predict what they are. So They can't sell F2 seed because there would be no way to know what you're getting, okay? Hybrid vegetables are not sterile. You can grow from them. You just don't know what you're going to get out of it. Now, over time, that does stabilize. So if you see something new come out in a seed catalog like Baker Creek, which is one of my favorites, they sell tons and tons of really, truly heirloom vegetables, but sometimes they'll bring in something new like Brad's Atomic Grape, which is a fabulous tomato. It's an open pollinated tomato, which means that when you save the seed from it, you're going to get almost an exact genetic copy from the tomato seed to grow the next year, so you know what you're going to get from it. But only a few years ago, Brad's Atomic Grape was a cross that was created in a room maybe like this. And this is our grow room where we grow our tomatoes. So a lot of what you're seeing behind me, these are hybrids, and these are our own crosses that we made. And what we do is we grow them. We decide which ones we like based on the flavor and the shape and the habit of the plant. And we pick the ones we like, and then we save those seeds and we grow those out. We do the same thing the next year because they're all still different. And we save the ones that we like and have the characteristics that we like, and then we grow those out. And it takes about 7 generations to stabilize the genes. So the further out you go, the less variety there is in every time you grow out the seed. So if you're worried that you can't save seed from your hybrid plants, you can save seed from your hybrid plants. Veggies are only as nutritious as the soil they're grown in. So if you don't have a healthy soil that's full of nutrients and minerals, then your fruit that you grow in it aren't going to be full of nutrients and minerals. So it's as simple as that. The nutrition content of your plants has nothing to do with whether it's a hybrid or it's an heirloom. Next question you might have about hybrids is whether or not they will contaminate your heirloom seed. And the answer to that really has more to do with how you're growing and how your garden is set up than it does with the fact that there's a hybrid vegetable in your garden. Whether you're growing 2 heirlooms next to each other or a hybrid and an heirloom next to each other, they both have the same likelihood of cross-pollinating because they're right next to each other. So it's more likely that a bee's going to, bees when they come, they get one flower and they go to the next flower and they're just moving from flower to flower. So the closer in proximity, 2 different types of tomato or pepper, the closer they are together, the more likely it is that you're going to get cross-pollination. So a tip for that is give them at least 6 feet or plant in between them another flowering vegetable or even just some flowers in between so that the bee or the other pollinator will stop in between. So the hybrid in and of itself isn't going to have any effect on whether or not your saved seed it grows true to type. So that's a complete myth. Maybe you're just like me, you have a job and you're working and you have kids and you have things going on. You don't have time to take care of your garden, and your heirloom veggies, they just never seem to take off and you don't get great results. I encourage you to try growing some hybrid vegetables if that's the case, because hybrid vegetables are actually bred to be more productive and more resistant to diseases, and they keep producing despite some neglect. So here's an example of that, like big beef versus a brandywine. I mean, those are 2 completely different ends of the spectrum. Brandywine is slow, doesn't make a ton of tomatoes, but your big beef is going to give you tons of red round tomatoes, and they taste really, really good. So big beef has grown on me over the past few years. We grow it because it has a really good disease package. Disease package just means, it's resistant to a lot of things. It's great for a family because I know there's a lot of people, and you may be one of them, where you just prefer that red round tomato. There's just nothing that beats that, you know, like yellow ones are great and striped ones are pretty to look at, but that red tomato, oh, that tomato flavor, that's what you want. Well, Big Beef has that and they're beautiful. They're all like red, perfect round tomatoes. So I really like Big Beef, but you compare that to something like Brandywine that's this classic heirloom and it has this great robust flavor, but it takes forever to grow and you just don't get that many tomatoes. And if you haven't had good luck in your garden before, you might want to try some of these hybrid veggies because they're gonna do a lot better. You don't have to pay as much attention to them. You don't have to put as much effort into them. And it's just one of the ways to make gardening easier, okay? They're just hybrids. They're not anything to worry about. So, and you can order Big Beef seeds and there's like 25 in a pack, and you maybe only need 3 or 4 plants for your family every year. Well, you can grow from that one pack for, you know, almost a decade. So seeds will keep for a long time. In fact, I've got growing right next to me some peppers and some onions that the seed was packaged for 2011 and they're coming up just fine. So you don't have to worry about saving the seed for like 5 or 6 years. It's fine. So don't be afraid to grow hybrids in your veggie garden. I encourage you to give some of them a try and actually do a trial where you have one from, you know, a hybrid over here grown next to a heirloom veggie and see if you can tell the difference. See if you think that those are a better producer for you. And especially, like I said, if you've had trouble growing things in the past or you don't have a lot of time to tend to your garden, hybrid veggies are a way for you to get all of the benefits of homegrown food and maybe a little bit less work. Leave me your comments, okay? Let's talk about this. If you have questions about hybrids, leave me your comments. If you enjoyed watching this video, please give me a thumbs up and a subscribe. That helps me out a lot, you guys. And I will talk to you later.